What attracted me to Pokemon in the first place, and what attracts me the most still, is the world of Pokemon. It's the culture of this place, the unique experiences of the people living there. Generally, it's the ways that the Pokemon world is similar to ours, and the ways that it's different. It wasn't the only thing, naturally. The creatures themselves played a huge role, and the gameplay of the main series was interesting enough, but as someone who barely played any other games as a kid, the elements of Pokemon as a game weren't really the selling point. It was years before I even started playing non-Pokemon games on a regular basis. I can think of 2 games that I played between when Pokemon came out, when I was in the 5th grade, and high school. 007 GoldenEye, which I got with my Nintendo 64. I didn't really play this one very much.
With Pierce Brosnan, oh my god, he's so young.
And Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. That one was actually a lot of fun, and the only reason I didn't play it more is that you needed a memory pack in order to save, and I didn't have one. But in high school, I did start to branch out. That was when I discovered Zelda and Super Smash Bros., both of which are series that I now play every new game. But I also played a lot of other games that I never picked up again. Some that I probably don't even remember playing, and some that I actually really enjoyed playing, like Sonic Adventure 2. I had never played a Sonic game before. I had a ton of fun with Sonic Adventure 2. I'm pretty sure I rented it over and over again so that I could play it through to the end. And I haven't played another Sonic game since. I'm pretty sure the problem was never that they were bad games. It's just that they didn't have a world that appealed to me the way Pokemon did. Zelda did, which is why I fell in love with it as soon as I gave the series a chance. And Super Smash Bros. Had great gameplay, but what I think really roped me in was the trophies, the glimpses that I could get into those other game worlds. And something that I could collect like Pokemon. But no game world so far has pulled me in the way that Pokemon did. So it might seem strange to hear that during that whole time that I was trying out different games, I didn't really play many Pokemon spin-offs. Okay, I did play Pokemon Stadium and Stadium 2 a ton, but I don't really consider those games to be spin-offs. You can play them by themselves without linking to a main series game, but that's not really how they're meant to be played. In a way, Pokemon Stadium and Stadium 2 are sort of like DLC for the first couple of generations. But I never even tried a Ranger game, or a Mystery Dungeon game, or Hey You Pikachu, or Pokemon Snap, or Pinball, or Puzzle League, or Dash. The 2 spin-offs I did play were Pokemon Trading Card Game for the Game Boy, I think mostly because it gave me a single-player experience of the TCG, and I didn't have anyone to play with. And Pokemon Coliseum, I think mostly because I thought it was the Gen 3 version of Stadium, which it sort of is, but not really, but also because I could get Jirachi. Not that those were the only reasons to play those games, and I don't mean to imply that I didn't enjoy playing either of them. I loved both of them, but I think those were the main reasons that I picked them up, whereas I didn't pick up any of the others. And honestly, I don't know why I didn't try those other spin-offs. My best guess is that the marketing just wasn't there. I don't know if in North America or if in Europe there was more of a push for the spin-offs, but in Brazil, I don't think there was.
I barely remember any ads for the spin-off games here, so I wouldn't be surprised if it'd be even less so in Brazil.
The official magazine might have mentioned them, but it was focused on the anime and the main series games, and even that, it folded in 2003, so I don't know if I ever saw an ad for a Pokemon game after that. But I knew people who did play those games, a few in school, but mostly online, who told me how much they liked those games, and yet that wasn't enough to really pique my interest. Now I'm making my way through that backlog of spin-offs, either playing their sequels like with Snap, or their remakes like with Mystery Dungeon, emulating what I can't play like with Ranger, and buying or borrowing what I can like with XD. And while I can't say that this is a big reason that these games didn't interest me as a kid, I have noticed something that most spin-offs are missing and that may have played a role. It's the Pokemon world. Most spin-offs don't seem to take place in the same Pokemon world that we, or at least that I, know and love from the main series. Some games very clearly don't share a world with the main series, like Mystery Dungeon and Pokepark, which seem to take place in a fully functioning society made up entirely of Pokemon, no humans around. A few games are so removed from the main series setting in both space and time that it's impossible to know whether it's the same Pokemon world or not, Pokemon Conquest in particular. And then other games probably do share the same world, but don't really use it. New Snap shares continuity with the original Snap, and since Professor Oak was in the original, I think it's safe to assume that it shares a world with the main series as well. But nobody talks about Pokemon training or catching Pokemon. Things that aren't relevant to New Snap, so it makes sense that they were left out. But then they also miss out on that connection to the greater Pokemon world. It's similar with Ranger, where the Almia region is geographically close to Sinnoh. I think there's even a couple of event missions that make that connection explicit, but I didn't get to play them. But again, nobody talks about training and catching Pokemon. Even Colosseum and Gale of Darkness, where the way the world works is pretty close to the main series, there were trainers everywhere, but at least as far as I can remember, we don't see any references to events or characters from other games. So even if the world of these games is meant to be the same one, even if it's established that it is the same one, either implicitly or explicitly, it doesn't feel like the same world. The world building of the main series is historically one of its strongest points. Returning characters, references to events and characters from previous and future Pokemon games, and even a decent amount of information that helps establish how non-Pokemon trainers live. Sure, the main series focuses almost entirely on the trainer life, but we see restaurants and hotels and construction. We see how these other lines of work interact with Pokemon. The main series even has Rangers as a character class, but the Ranger games, or at least Shadows of Almia, which is the one I played, doesn't have any trainers. You know what I think would be really interesting? If we got a spin-off game that takes place in a region that we already know from the main series. How about a Ranger game set in Hoenn? It's the region that introduced us to Rangers as a character class, so it would be fitting, and it could really piggyback on the world building that other games have already given us about Hoenn. Imagine a Ranger story that takes place at the same time as Ruby and Sapphire. You could have Rangers confronting Team Magma or Aqua, you could cross paths with other characters that we already know, you could even have Rangers helping people survive the drought or the downpour at the climax. But even if not, even if the game took place at a different time, even if you didn't come across any returning characters, we would still get to see the same locations from a new perspective, and that would be amazing.
Hey, Game Freak, now you're watching.
The main series is, for me, the main attraction. So every time I play a spin-off, I think about the elements of that game that could be adapted into the main series. At the same time, though, I also always want to see more variety in Pokemon games. Different stories, different moods, different gameplay, and although I would like to see some of that in the main series as well, spin-offs and side games are the perfect place to experiment with that. But I think that if you're not using that fantastic world building from the main series, if you're trying to make something that feels almost independent or is completely independent, you're missing out on a lot of depth. After I made last week's video about elements from New Pokemon Snap that I want to see in the main series, I realized that it might seem a little bit contradictory for me to say that, because I've been asking for variety in the Pokemon games for pretty much my entire time on YouTube, and wouldn't bringing in elements from the spin-offs into the main series reduce that variety? Nobody accused me of hypocrisy or anything like that, but it got me thinking about that dynamic and why historically spin-offs didn't really appeal to me. I think for me, the ideal situation would be if the main series and all of the spin-offs shared world building, but the gameplay was different. Let them exist in a shared timeline, in a shared planet, even if not always in a shared region. Let characters and events cross over, even if sometimes they're just mentioned. But then let the main series be the games that focus on the trainer path, and have your spin-offs be the games that explore what it's like to be a ranger, or a research photographer, or a reformed criminal. Obviously, everything that I said today applies way more to the spin-off series that are more on the RPG side than to the ones that are basically just Pokemon-themed puzzle games, but maybe there's a reason I don't play those much either. What do you think? How do you see this dynamic between the main series and the spin-offs? Do you play one more than the other? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of my patrons, especially luxury patron Ethan from Chicago. I'll see you in the next chapter.